how the Bible disproves the Big Bang. It's kind of a whimsical video title because actually the Bible disproves a lot of other things, not just the Big Bang. And the reason I'm saying that the Bible disproves the Big Bang is because the Bible indicates that the creation event took place in a different way than the Big Bang theory. So therefore, that's what happened. It's not what the current interpretation of the evidence would lead the scientific community to believe. Now, the reason I would take the Bible for the ultimate authority is because the Bible has proven its divine origin, a supernatural origin throughout the course of history. The best example would be, say, the people of Israel, the Israelites, the history of the Jews. It was all spelled out way before, many thousands of years before we've seen the events unfolding, just as Moses had described. The land that that's now known as Israel was promised to the Israeli people, thousands of years ago, and there was a lot of details given as to what would transpire between the time they were first entering the land until the time that they re-enter the land in the end days, the latter days. So, since the Bible is so accurate, knowing world history and events that cannot be colluded on, then when the Bible speaks of the creation event, I am compelled to believe that the Bible's record of the creation event is the accurate one, and that eventually the scientific interpretation will converge onto the biblical record. So I would like to relate this story, a little vignette from a guy named Jastrow, who was a NASA scientist, and he was commenting on how cutting-edge physics is leading in the direction of the metaphysical, what used to be considered metaphysical. And he says it's as if the scientists have finally scaled the mountain and come to the top, and only to find theologians sitting there, have been there for 2,000 years. Now I'm saying it's worse than that. The scientists scale the mountain, and not do they just find theologians, but they find Sunday school children at the top of the mountain. And the reason I say that is because children are much more likely to accept reality holistically, and so they're comfortable with a holistic macroscopic events, let's put it that way, whereas many in the scientific community have been seduced by reductionism, thinking that somehow the greater realities are not important. It's the background that provides for the greater reality. I mean, that is rather foolish thinking. That would be like taking a book in hand and studying the ink and the paper and discarding the transcendent message that's in the meaning of the sentences and the words. That's how, in a sense, foolish reductionist makes the scientific community. I mean, when you look at, say, the Nobel Prizes for science, it's as if and I know they're not actually saying this, but it's almost as if they're treating these scientists as if they invented or created the particular phenomena that they've deciphered. And I know that's, nobody's going to actually say that, but it's almost as if this particular scientist didn't discover this relationship between some kind of physical phenomena, then it wouldn't exist. I mean, that's almost the way they come across. And really, what scientists is doing is discovering what's already there. I mean, it's already been created with these sophisticated relationships in terms of things like cosmological constants and all the other various physical constants that we're discovering. I mean, they were there from the beginning. So, it's really a God thing, not a scientist thing. Although I appreciate the genius of the scientists who can, like Maxwell's equations and so forth, who can see these and, figure these things out. But just discovering the relationships, and nothing like actually creating them and coming up with the idea in the first place that this is how you're going to have a work in reality, is if things, physical matter and energy relates to each other in these mathematical ways. So as far as the Big Bang, how the Bible disproves that is, the Bible seems to indicate that there was the entire universe delivered intact with informational homogeneity, and it just happened on a scale of something less than infinity, but probably very, very close to an infinite. The way it's looking now, as if we have an infinite space but a finite time. And this goes back to what I've been preaching for a while here, that the creation event probably took place in anti-de Sitter space, and the shift then to regular de Sitter space, what we experience now, where time extends out in all directions, so to speak, and space seems to be curled around on itself in a large scale, whereas before, I think at the creation event, it was the other way around, and this would provide for everything coming into existence at once without having to have a long history in terms of light waves traveling, because they would have been present instantaneously in that kind of event. So, at any rate, the scientific community, I believe, will eventually converge onto this understanding of how God created the universe. And I think that one of the other important keys to understanding the creation event is knowing that God is infinitely powerful, and this infinite wisdom and power and everything else that's necessary to provide for this universe pre-existed the universe. So you had really what we're looking at in terms of our universe is a cavitation of the infinite to provide a finite setting for finite beings. And I think that once the scientific community starts looking at it that way, putting the sort of the all-powerful up front, rather than thinking that the origination was from nothing, then they're going to remain in the dark, blinded by reductionism. Thank you.